What's up? It's Elliot. Not obviously.
Oh, it's Mars.
Hi. I'm still Elliot. What's going on? It's been an interesting life, yeah? Let's narrow it down because it's been an interesting last couple of days. In an interesting life, even in an interesting week. And my collective impressions of experiences with other have there's been like a stark polarization. I saw Endgame twice this last weekend, so I might throw in a bunch of inside me. There was one joke or two because I don't know, it has something to do with it. Anyways, I posted either yesterday or the day before, or possibly the day before that, about being attacked. And my experiences with more or less the same group of people, but really, particularly their experiences with themselves by virtue of my standing in my truth and my courage and my sovereignty, my insistence on the good. Here, I'm a hand talker, so this is the good. I was like fucking Excalibur, fucking wielding yo. Has given rise to a noticing that the polarization of, I'm going to say, the hearted and the heartless. But everybody has a heart, Elliot. Nope. There are layers to the body. Well, just go heart chakra and come along with me. And this is a good thing. However, I find myself, as per usual, on the extreme pole, as it were, in my demonstration of the divine in response to I'm only gonna say it this way once because this is another point of this video that I want to share, but I didn't want to put it in the title because fuck them. In my responses to what people have come to recognize or think they recognize as narcissistic people. That's it. I'm going to read a really short, that's, if you've read it, then you know that the prologue is a story of Narcissus. And in a previous video, I've read this and kind of given like a present then examination of maybe a principle or two, or kind of an aspect or a perspective of my interpretation. And I'm going to share with you another one that I myself have kind of used this story as an analog to land a depth of what I've come to know through experience. It's like, Elliot, that's a lot of words saying the same thing. If you think so, then fuck off. And I don't mean that generally. I don't even mean that like aggressively. I just mean for your own good, because you're going to get nothing from anything. Not just to mention what I say, but I don't know, fuck off until you fuck on. And then maybe send me an email if you're really desperate for help. My point exactly. Anyways, about this whole share. The prologue. The alchemist picked up a book that someone in the caravan had brought. Leafing through the pages, he found a story about Narcissus. Now, the alchemist knew the legend of Narcissus, a youth who knelt daily beside a lake to contemplate his own beauty. He was so fascinated by himself that one morning he fell into the lake and drowned. Wah wah. At the spot where he fell, a flower was born, which was called the Narcissus. But this was not how the author of the book ended the story. Ooh, intrigue. He said that when Narcissus died, the goddesses of the forest appeared and found the lake, which had been freshwater, now transformed into a lake of salty tears. Salty. Why do you weep? The goddesses asked. I weep for Narcissus, the lake replied. Ah, it's no surprise that you weep for Narcissus, they said, for though we always pursued him in the forest, you alone could contemplate his beauty close at hand. But was Narcissus beautiful? The lake asked. Who better than you to know that? The goddesses said in wonder. After all, it was by your banks that he knelt each day to contemplate himself. The lake was silent for some time. Hold on. I'm wondering for rabbits. After all, it was by your banks that he knelt each day to contemplate himself. The lake was silent for some more time. Finally, it said, I weep for Narcissus, but I never noticed that Narcissus was beautiful. I weep because each time he knelt beside my... You fucker, you're just toying with me. I weep because each time he knelt beside my banks, I could see in the depths of his eyes my own beauty reflected. What a lovely story, the alchemist thought. Ooh. Did you think it was a lovely story? If you thought it was a story, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to ask you, who is the narcissist in this story? A, B, or C? D, F, P? Okay, if you said narcissist, you're right. Shocker, I know. If you said the lake, you're right. If you said the goddesses, you're right. If you said the flower, you're right. Everybody in this fucking story is a narcissist. Okay? First of all, they got a story about them and they insist. Fucking narcissistic. All right? But I'm going to examine it really quickly and then continue with my post, aiming for doing some other things today that doesn't entail me going on too long about this. It's always worth it. Narcissist. How is he a narcissist? And let's, for the sake of I don't know, utility, make it relatable to us, not living in legend. So Narcissus knelt daily beside a lake to contemplate his own beauty. He was so fascinated by himself that one morning he fell into the lake and drowned. Is it narcissistic to contemplate your own beauty? No. It's nearly like contemplation is very nearly like antithetical to narcissism. So this was translated by Clifford E. Landers. I blame him for using the wrong word. He was so fascinated by himself that one morning he fell into the lake and drowned. Is it narcissistic to be fascinated by yourself? No, not in and of itself. But if you're so fascinated that you fall into the lake and drown, then that fascination is actually an addiction. And it's not himself, it's anything and everything is himself. Is it drugs? Is it reality television? Is it the idea of being a good parent? And I'm not saying that as like a Freudian remark about my mother or father. Yeah, no. But perhaps I am inferring that I'm exposed to some fucked up people. Can you relate? Right? Obviously. So he was so fascinated by himself that one morning he fell into the lake and drowned. I'm cautioning this freaking guy. It's, you know what? It's the buzzing. And also, I just feel him around me. He's obviously trying to help me, and I'm going to try and help him by ending his life. I'm talking about the fly. Narcissist already took care of himself. I was just kidding. I didn't actually think I'd hit him. Oh, but he's right there. Land. Whatever, man. You're enjoying it. He was so fascinated by himself that one morning he fell into the lake and drowned. If you're falling into the lake and drowning, you're ignoring first. Like, I'm gonna just like be quick through it. He goes by the lake every day and he doesn't know how to swim. He doesn't know how to swim, and he's not super aware that like drowning is lethal and a very real threat, and has done nothing to mitigate. That was slow. I didn't deserve to get him anyways. He's just not paying attention to anything except himself. He's self-centered. Whatever it is, if you allow yourself to like, it's an illusion in the story that he's died a quick death. That is the result of everyone that doesn't fucking live their life and excuses whatever the fuck they call living their life as being effortful or efforted. Because that's not a sudden death. He visited that lake every fucking day. So every day that risk was there. He fell into the lake, maybe he slipped before or anything like that. It's just like you have to ignore everything. And be by virtue of like a selfish obsession to die like that. Let's move on. Is the lake narcissistic? Yes, for the same reason. But was Narcissus beautiful? Like, if you see me walking down the street, you won't see me making eye contact or looking at everyone, even to smile. That used to be me. But now I just kind of wear a smile and take it, like drink it all in. And then if you were to stop me at like at the end of the street or something like that and be like, did you notice, someone? I'd be like, well, yeah, sort of, or did you notice that like beautiful person? Like, yeah, sort of, but I do know they were beautiful. Like, Honey P. Anyways, I don't know what I was trying to say with saying that. And there's something about the fresh water and the salt water. What is a lake in? It's a mistake to think that the lake turned itself into the salt water. The lake is the lake. And an external act occurred to it and changed its composition, but not its lakeness. And upon interaction, we can see that the only real shift in the lake as a lake identity is like a mourning of a loss that's not really a loss. So the fresh water to the salty, I think, is the earth crying for the tragedy of all these like less than fools, So again, that was kind of easy too. Let's the force goddesses. That's the first kind of maybe like curveball. But they chased him every day to look at him. People, you don't chase people. Least of all, to fucking stare. You don't chase people. You can follow. But that is inclusive of enjoying and being satisfied in every aspect of that following, right? Following isn't to catch up. Following isn't to catch. Following is self-directing and having a guide. Pursued him in the forest. Pursued him and subtly, because I'm always listening for what they're not saying and everything. You alone could contemplate his beauty close at hand. For that kind of perspective to occur to them, there's like a covetedness of, or a jealousy of the lake having something that the forest goddesses want. Narcissistic. And maybe the last, most subtle is The flower. At the spot where he fell, a flower was born, which was called the narcissist. At the point where he fell, a flower was born. Now, the easy perception is to be like, something beautiful knelt there every day when he fell. That beauty, in absence of that like routined beauty, like a nature's representative came to like, you know, honor or like not even commemorate. I want to like just I don't know. People die. It's sad. At the point where he fell, the flower was born that didn't have a name. And instead of remaining nameless, it was instead called Narcissus, which was the boy's name. So at the spot where he fell, a flower was born. And called itself after other. Or rather, it was called after other. And if the flower was born, who birthed it? Because all that is begotten is like is seeded. Was it Narcissus? Was it the lake? Was it the earth again? And who called? Okay, Elliot, salient points. But what makes the fucking flower a narcissist? What's his name? I know. I know. It's not nice. Interesting points, but that last one was a trick question. And then leaving the book, and then moving right along. Like bonus question: was the alchemist narcissistic? No, obviously not. That's why it wasn't a possible answer. I don't know, but that like walk was hugely satisfying. So I'm going to call that an absolute win. All right. No, the alchemist wasn't a narcissist in that story, and only based really on one thing, and he called it a lovely story. And narcissists don't use that language. I'm being cheeky. Could he have said, what a good story, what a nice story, what a sweet story. You could have said anything and everything. He's a fucking alchemist. But he said lovely story. So he said lovely on purpose. Lovely is to be love like Leeing. And in a story where all the characters are narcissists, where's the love? Were all the characters narcissists? But now I'm going into like, I don't know, theater a little bit. Is the set a character? It's a story about the earth and transmutation and like the complex interweaving of karma towards resolution, because flowers wilt and die, and everything is beautiful, even narcissists. I am now, from this point forward, championing with all the other champions, a refusal of narcissism, narcissistic this, I'm refusing all that shit. I'm not using that word anymore. And when I do, to relate to people, because it's like a fad right now, I'm going to speak of it succinctly in terms of, this. There are no narcissists, like the story kind of exemplifies. Narcissists thought up the word, the label, the name narcissist. They love being a thing. They're not a thing. They're assholes. They're selfish dicks with no hearts. Are they hopeless? But only by choice. And are they beyond redemption? No one is. Are they special or different from other assholes? No. 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 They're not. There's no they. It's just assholes. Dickheads. Losers. And if I were to actually define all abusers of others, cowards. Of the whatever the most extreme degree, if like fear is the spectrum, and on one side you've got courage, which is doing in recognition of one's caution, or fear. I'll even still use the word because it's a spectrum of fear. So there's no fear any more than there's no all fear. So courage is the ability to act in spite of fear, despite it, and extremely regardless of it, even. And the polar opposite of that would be so afraid that there is no moment where they're not afraid. And that doesn't need to be more judgmental than that. But just as courageous action has ripples in its environment of awesomeness, extreme cowardice does too. And I'm just tying everything up in my mind and then rolling with it. When you're so afraid of everything, the only thing that you're not afraid of are the things that are afraid of you. So you try and make everything afraid of you. Only it doesn't change how afraid you are. Which is why the follow-through of such cowards is always peripheral, from as much distance and identity and act, right? It's always somebody else, like, whatever. I don't have to go there. It's, you get my point. And that's it. Now, allowing for the momentum of this, my story of this post so far, to kind of swell and relax. There's a lot of abusively cowardly behavior demonstrated towards the good, the empathic, the heartful, being. And most of it is actually like systemic and super subtle, and we don't call it this type of behavior because we've been conditioned to actually reward it and, excuse me, like honor it even. Like, but anyways, because I'm done now. Walk away, leave them, ignore them, because they won't follow you. And or chase you or anything like that, so long as you exhibit your complete and utter lack of fear. And that'll work most of the time. Any other kind of reaction has been more or less shunned. And that's because the narcissist, and now I'm really referring to the social meme of it, is almost is like usually male, usually abusing a female partner, period, really. And because they propagate their own stories, no, they don't. No one. They don't, like, when you're that scared. You've got no faith in the good. You don't love anything, and so you can't. So you don't love yourself. So you don't feel God's love. You don't love the flower. You don't love the lake. You don't love nothing. Everybody loves something. No, they don't. That's a lie. It's like single cell organisms have mitochondrial actions to create energy. Do single cell organisms eat? No, they don't. We could anthropomorphize it and say that, but it's not the same as you and I eating. So how are we going to use the same word to describe that action when I eat and then that like activates mitochondrial like energy cycling in my own cells? So am I eating and eating? No. In that same way, whatever, you get it. Moving on. Because they don't care, because they're so afraid. All they care about is not. I actually don't even really know. It basically, superficially, it's not being basically found out that they're fucking frightened of everything and can't do shit. They're super happy so for anybody and everybody to walk away, so long as their illusion of power is maintained and their authority as such can continue. Slash, if there's a illusion of chasing or following or anything like that, all of it is always also an attempt to elevate the deception of power. So walking away, cool, good response, and most of the time appropriate. This is where I'm super different, and I'm noticing. This is where I'm super different, but this is also like a very, very critical aspect of the paradigm shift and what's changed and what is continuing to changing and what's being empowered through us and our resilience and divinity's love and loving expression and empowerment of us through us for the good. And that's standing up. I didn't say standing against and say fighting back. I didn't even say standing up for oneself. I really just mean standing up, like still standing, and not and having that kind of behavior, not only just not be an aspect of it, but to be an exemplification, an avatar even of the danger of being that way, of being a cowardly, abusive shithead. Now, why I say it's such a potent and empowering aspect of the paradigm shift is you don't think people have been doing this like for ages, for as long as there have been assholes? Yeah, man. And just for a really long time, the like dim noospheric environment has been as such that it's been really easy to just fucking kill people that do that. And if and so it might you might, if you're resonating with me and this message, then maybe you have experienced memories of a sort of being killed. I have tons. I always die because we'd rather die than not be. Now, dying it was not always probably the smartest choice, but whatever. I died, and I continue to maintain, for better and worse, this instance of truth, of divinity, of us. So, without getting personal too much, basically having my life threatened a couple days ago as a manipulation of my environment by that kind of personality that really had nothing to do with me, but I trigger. Not even like, I don't even have to really be too around, but my field is fucking vast and loving. And anything that's going to conflict with that, it's like all of a sudden you're going to get an itch. You're going to fucking, not even because like, I mean, anyway, so moving on. When you confront evil like that, and they're in a position of authority, power, whatever, you can't always walk away. And maybe you can walk away, but if you walk away, they'll just find another good person to abuse. Which isn't to say that that's your responsibility. like I don't even have to tell you, being an empath, being a lover, you can't help but know that, which is why more or less they sink like hooks, because you're like, I don't want you to do this to anybody else, so I'm gonna try and figure out how to dot dot dot. On the surface, to these assholes and to the unaware, it can look like I am being triggered by their behavior. But that is fear. That's fear watching. The way that I respond to that behavior when it's turned towards me is with wrath. Now, the thing about wrath is, I'm not trying to intimidate anybody. I'm not trying. I'm not going to hunt after you. I'm really actually only in like protection mode, as in, as you continue, as you so choose to back away, you can continue. I will let you, but you will not go this way. Not one mote. And watching the shame and, yeah, Peggy, it's because you have to think more about it or listen to the words that I'm coming out of my mouth. Because it shouldn't be confusing. It should be interesting. If it's confusing, then you've only got one perspective on violence, and having only one perspective on violence is absolute, and therefore turns away from eternity, not as a judgment, as an aspect of truth. Because violence is of God, just as everything is. And there is nothing antithetical to God. And why I like violence? First of all, it's fun. Actually, like, but also, when you play fucking hockey, that's violence. Not you, Peg. I'm not. None of my emotions are directed to you personally. Thank you for joining me. Really, of course, always. All these fucking sports, right? Like, that's violence. Violence is fun, right? When kids fight amongst themselves, I'm not going to say like absolutely, because most of the time they either shouldn't be fighting or they're being blamed for fighting when they should be fighting. But like rough and tumbling, man, like, it's fun, and death is not the thing that it is. So when there's no fear and there's more love, then violence becomes a kind of matching against one another or what's necessary. And violence is not fear. Violence is not evil. Violence is the sword. Violence is the word. They can be used with any intent as the thing that it is, but it depends on whose hands and whose heart is wielding, and thusly for what purpose. And if everybody just turns the other cheek, Jesus is fucking misquoted all the fucking time, then they'll look at the fucking world. It's like, turn the other cheek, turn the other cheek. Great. Everybody's turning in one direction. Let's just pen them in. Cool. We'll put a passageway right there and make hamburgers out of them. Because it's not, because that's one solution, and the other, and like the point of the share, and really all I want to share now, like I'm done, is it's not right. And as such, I will not stand for it. And I've noticed, by virtue of what and who and everything that I am, which is not, like, I'm best complimented by those that are not like me like this. Because if everybody was like this, I don't know, it would be awesome, but it wouldn't look like that, obviously. It's just that we all have our parts to play. Like there's the, like when you think of the pantheon of the gods, the god of this, the god of that, the god of this, the god of that, the god of this, the god of that. It's only the monotheistic religions, which are actually the religions of control and manipulation. Because monotheism isn't unity. Monotheism isn't all is one, right? If there were, then they wouldn't be killing everybody at every fucking drop of the hat, or yarmulke or whatever. Oh, that was a little racist. Was it? I don't care. It was funny. And I have no patience for anybody that where that, like, a comment like that is going to really sway one way or another, because that's a super weak character. And these evil ones have super weak characters. They are so fucking afraid. And when you stand up to them, which I can't not do, so I've really watched this kind of change and grow over this last year in just defending myself and what's right and what I insist upon, and calling out cruelty as cruelty. Because just because you like, oh, this is the way people are. It's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Like yesterday, for example, I'm speaking heatedly, and yelling is not, it's got too many wrong connotations. What does it mean, yelling? I was being forceful with my voice. Which was not arbitrary, but in direct response to the cruelty that was being turned my way. Now, was the cruelty that was turned my way, did it look like yelling? Did it look like violence as we are taught to label as such? No. It looked like they were just like kind of calmly sitting there and cooperating while I was yelling at them. That's a fucking lie. Because I wasn't there to be helped, to be loved, to be supported. I don't care if you're calm while you try and ensnare me in your hate. Most of the time it's self-hate, but it's like the gossip, the drama, and the manipulation of those that I love. Like, to be honest, the reason I was so incensed, even right from the get-go and moving forward, was throughout this, like, the maturation of these of other within other like their own little heads. My mother was made to feel awful, and whatever, man. I can't stand for that. She pisses me off, but and it's not even. And I was gonna say, but she's my mother. Fuck that. Just because someone is familial by certificate does not earn them anything as just an aspect of that. But my mom is a lovely person, and she tries, and given any opportunity, she does a loving thing that she really doesn't know what that is most of the time. So it looks like a lot of nothing, but I won't stand for that like false, because this is like her sisters. These are people supposed to be loving her and supporting her and all. It's just fucking evil. And so I'm standing, they're sitting, and this coward looks at me and says, "Can I say something from? Can I say something?" Like, you know, like playing at demure or cooperative, and so my tone immediately changed, because I'm not. I might have my adrenaline running, but I'm not subject to my emotions. I'm master of them. So when I'm in my wrath, it's because you've incurred it. We are reflections of each other. And if you want to be an asshole in front of me, I'll show you the pain that you I was going to say, like, reach you, that you inflict upon others. So can you just like sit down? So said like that, my tone changed. I'm like, why would like, I didn't, and my again emotional response would have been like, no, I want to stand, I'm going to stand. Is that the bad response? No. But she said that, my first reaction, my tone changed, still assertive, for a reason. Would you like me to sit? And her response was, so that you could be eye level with me. I wasn't talking to her. I was speaking with my mother. So I wasn't like, there's no eye level with her. It had nothing to do with her. Even the topic of our conversation, and which had really very close to being begun, was around like the circumstances or anything like that. She was just like an onlooker, and had her response been, I'm just listening, and I feel, and by listening to you, I feel like you're right to feel that way, and there is more for us to understand. So if perhaps you sit and we're sitting, it'll feel like we're all together. Or maybe, we'll stand, and then we'll all be like that too. Or even at the fucking least, been like, I think your mother would be more comfortable if you were sitting. But her response had everything to do with her, and only her. And that might seem like a simple thing, but simple things are potent. And I least of ever will abide simple cruelty. And I think that's it. Just that. Also, lastly, actually, this is super important because I've kind of touched on it, but this is critical. Walking away, standing up, the whole spectrum encompassed between and besides only happens from emotional mastery. Because otherwise, yeah, you're not in control. Sorry, let me say it differently. You're not making your choices. Let me say that differently, but also like conducively, or the choice that you're making a choice you made persistently, but previous to the situation. We're always living our choice. But with emotional mastery, those like essentially like blocks of or units of really self mastery get tinier, where you're or we're in like the sway or influence of anything else basically drops to not never, where you're always ever in your choice. And just like when she wasn't really a part of the conversation, said that in that way, I immediately made a choice to shift my tone and most appropriately assess the situation. If I was just angry, I would have responded in anger. Now, did her response incur my wrath? You're fucking right, it did. I have a lifetime of history with this person as well. So, needless to say, it's super appropriate. But without emotional mastery, you're either only walking away for 5 minutes or you're walking away from yourself, which means you're going nowhere because you can't walk away from yourself. And you're still going to be in the thrall of an abusive coward that is really only making you more afraid of them so that it's not obvious that they're afraid of you. Or you're being irresponsible. You'll be irresponsible in your power, irresponsible in your violence, if it comes to being violent. The threat of violence isn't violence. The threat of violence is abuse. I like there's anyways, long story short, that's all part of like the telling is that so basically like telling also I don't fuck around, like just pointing out the self-centeredness, the lack of care, and the fact that this whole situation was been wrought by her. I know that, and that my mother deserves better. Eventually, like it got to the point where like she and I've seen fucking coward, narcissist, fucking people do this. That obviously I trigger the shit out of these people, where they just like they flip, and then like you know they'll use some excuse, like I'm gonna call 911. It's like yeah, of course, because you can't fucking handle your own shit. It's like there are like nine infinite ways for you to engage with me in this moment so as to shift it wherever you really like, especially towards love, right? But you don't know how, and you're not asking, which means I don't care about your life. Like God, you're in God's hands always, and like she's got you, he's got you. Like, I don't need you. But then it's like the projections become like super obvious. It's like, you're a coward. Why don't you go look in the mirror? I was like, what, fucking Judge Judy tell you that? And also, like, this is like, I'm leaving it with this because I'm hungry and I want to smoke. This is, and maybe this is like, pay attention should this like ever it be in your atmosphere. And if you're a warrior of light, it most certainly will. Where they're talking about fear and cowardice and being afraid. You think I'm afraid of you? You think you scare me? It's like, I like, even in my wrath, I can't, I like do like a kind of little smile. I'm like, you shouldn't be afraid of me. Like, what am I going to do? Like, I'm not gonna hit you. I'm not gonna hit you. Like, I don't know how many times I have to tell these, like, everyone. I've never actually hit another person. The last time I hit someone, I was a kid when I fought my little brother. That's only, I've never hit another person. But the amount of times it's like, people, like, they're so afraid of me. And that used to, like, draw out my own, like, guilt and shame and things like that, until I realized and healed and recognized it's like, oh no, you're all so shame-filled and guilty for how you've acted, that your only response is like irresponsible emotions. That's when you'll see people just fucking crying, but with no sense, or yelling and being angry. I wasn't angry. I was in my wrath, because the earth deserves better. Love does not abide that. This person's afraid of you. That person's afraid of you. This person's afraid of you. That used to really, really hurt me, until I stopped taking responsibility for other people's stupidity. It's like, first of all, none of you should be afraid of me. Second of all, it's a complete and utter laziness. And I mean that in like the despicable way. The like lazy in love, lazy in everything, to you know what? I'm done. I'm like, I don't even want. I just right now got to a point where I'm like, oh, I'm actually starting to feel things, and it's inappropriate for myself, in myself, from and for everything. So I'm moving right along. Last little summary or note. In these changing times, people are going to be afraid of you, and people. It's not that. It's like people are afraid of the unknown. No, that's a lie. I love the unknown. I've always been super curious about it. I am excited about the unknown. I follow the unknown. I think it's fucking cool, and I always find something interesting there. Cowards try and make everybody afraid of everything, and fear, like the fearful, seek to create fear in those that are not in their possession, and that will lead to cruelty in acts. So people are going to there's going to be a rise of aggression towards good people. So just beware of that, and know that the mechanisms of divinity are such that, and sovereignty and free will, that they can't fucking touch you unless you give them permission. So don't give them permission. By recognizing that they can't touch, they can't reach as high as we are. Their cruelty can only affect us if we go down to them. So don't. And they are right to fear me. They don't have to. Nothing in me is directed towards them to create fear. Nothing, 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 nothing. But who I am, have been, and will always be is an avenger towards what decays and dies as that hate, fear, bullshit. And anyways, like, obviously I'm grateful for everyone. Everybody's doing their, like, playing their role. It's all one, whatever. But like, really, if it was all one and nothing ever happened, I'd be so fucking bored. So I'm not going to belabor like an interesting dichotomy of existence for anything. But no one need be afraid, really, of anything. So the only people that are going to be afraid of me are those that think that I should be afraid of them, or that anybody should. Ascension, rude awakening. Ba, ka, sha. I love everyone. I actually really do, even the dickheads. I just don't care what happens to them in lives. We are eternal. I will love you eternally. I don't care if you die. I don't care if you live. That we are beyond that. I care what you intend. I care how you act. I care for the love. And here I am at this time in this incarnation, always, however backwards it might seem, for the love. And you'll be afraid if you're going to try and get in the way of our love. Love you. Love everyone. This was a little bit more of a venting rant than I anticipated, but we all have needs. And I appreciate having friends that will just like listen. So thanks. And thank you very much, Peggy, for being here. Especially because you're especially here. Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna go do stuff. More stuff, yeah. Okay. Bye. Have a beautiful day. Maybe I'll be on later. Always maybe, because I never know what I'm gonna do. Planet. Fuck that. Plane. ET. Okay, all right, I'm out.